Alright, y'all, sit down for this one, because I got a story and y'all ain't gonna believe this shit.
I murdered you to death!
I can't fucking talk. I finally scratched that itch that I've had for the past couple of years to play Far Cry 5 again. Giving me an open world Ubisoft game is like giving a recovering addict a hit of crack because it's the cheap kind of fun that I try to stay away from but always end up coming back to. Far Cry 5, if you're not aware, is an open world sandbox style first person shooter right up my alley, where you can go wherever you want and take on the missions how you see fit, and there's just something about that freedom of choice that I can't get enough of in video games. I'm not re-recording that part. That's staying in.
I need help!
This one follows that same if you played one of them, you played them all Ubisoft formula that they're known for. If you played one Ubisoft game, you'll pick up on a lot of the exact same gameplay elements as the other ones, regardless of if it's Watch Dogs, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, or otherwise. You'll be doing the same base raiding, sneaking, and objective farming around a huge map with a million completion boxes to check off regardless of the one you pick, so I guess you can just find one that fits your aesthetic and gameplay style best. But we are talking about Far Cry 5 here, so obviously my aesthetic is cult in the middle of Montana game.
My special place where I can just be me.
So Far Cry 5 starts you off as this silent protagonist in a police unit that had the bright idea of sending you, the rookie, the beginning officer, like first week on the job type of dude, out to serve an arrest warrant to the most notorious cult leader of Montana, Joseph Seed.
God will not let them take me.
It goes to shit because of course it does. Your companions either die, flee, or get captured, and you're left to run through the woods to make your escape.
The sinners could be anywhere. Do you hear me?
The game is all about building these teams of freedom-fighting mercenaries to take back control of the land from the massive, insane group of domestic terrorists that you're put up against. It's pretty par for the course Far Cry setup. Meet the bad guy, then make your mission to build your way up to take down the bad guy, except now instead of it being on a deserted island, it's now in the fictional backwoods county of Montana.
This entire stretch of flyover country is a 160 decibel noise factory!
The setting is interesting because it gives you a chance to see the world where everybody isn't against you right off of the bat. It's not a deserted island. It's a small town with villages and valleys that were once populated with communities of free people. You can catch a glimpse of normal people branded as mercenaries driving past you or needing to be saved from captivity. Oh, hey, you're that guy that's supposedly gonna single-handedly take down every single boss in the game. Yeah, right, I'd love to see that happen. That cult thing that you're looking for, they're right around the corner there, having an orgy or something, so they should be pretty easy to sneak up on. By the way, thanks for liking the video and subscribing, I really appreciate it.
This is America. Get your own damn car.
You'll often see these guys battling it out in random encounters with the cult members, and this is what makes part of Far Cry so damn great. It's an open world sandbox where anything can happen and you have a front row ticket to the shit show.
I got you.
Oh, nice technique, ninja style.
Go for a stroll, cover me! Smart thing sending me here!
A great Far Cry staple is that you can really just tackle these missions however you want. You might be traveling to an outpost where you're peeking the microphone and you can't really tell because you're looking on the wrong side of the screen. You might be traveling to an outpost in a helicopter and choose to drop in with a parachute and an RPG blowing shit up from up top, or maybe you want to take these things stealthy and sneak your way in. I always found that the more chaotic route suited me best though. How the missions play out varies on how you take them on, and it's really hard for me to put into words just how cool this works. It's a thing that you just organically experience as you play, where you kinda make the cinematic moments happen. The best comparison I can make is to those only in Battlefield moments. You guys remember those trailers that came out to shy people away from COD?
I'm the squad leader, so I have the bomb on me. So I see the enemy's fortress. Suddenly gunfire just comes, shooting all over the place with machine guns, everything. I go through the fire and I make it onto the coast.
So we come up on a pond, and then we see this helicopter sitting right there, completely unattended. I decide to fly it because my license is suspended, but they didn't say nothing about helicopters. And we come up around this platoon of boats going, right? So I says over there to my buddy Sharky, I said, watch this. I'm gonna jump out this thing right here with this RPG. My license for guns has been restricted, but they didn't say anything about RPG explosives. So I jump out, take out the entire platoon, drop into the lake right as I'm taking them all out, and I get the mission points right there. It's crazy. You wouldn't believe it unless you were there. It seemed like every 2 minutes some crazy ass thing would either be playing out in front of me or would happen as a result of me playing like an ass.
Face getting more and more aggressive.
Yo, help! Dang, you're my hero.
So the structure of Far Cry 5's map is done by splitting it up between different regions, Need for Speed Carbon style. Yeah, I just made that comparison. Bro, you could not tell 11-year-old me that wasn't cool as fuck. Your job is to take down the entire Seed family before reaching the big boss, Joseph. Each Seed family member controls a different region of the map, and as you cause mayhem in each area, you'll fill a progress meter, getting you closer to fighting them face to face. You tackle these progress meters by doing main story missions, taking down outposts, gunning down fleet vehicles, and rescuing cult prisoners.
Thanks a bunch. Thanks, Deputy.
As you clear out these outposts, you can get a scene of the resistance clearing out the outpost and turning it into a base camp. You can interact with the different NPCs, buy and sell, and pick up new missions depending on the location. Doing these missions alone could get pretty lonely, so Far Cry implemented a companion system that always gives you somebody to fight with after you unlock them. How generous. You can have everything from freedom fighters to animals like a dog or a bear and a cougar named Peaches join your side. Yeah, a cougar named Peaches.
Those miserable shits raided my place trying to kill my Peaches. Now she's raced off for her revenge.
I was definitely partial to a dude that went by Sharky though.
Trying to make me shit myself, homie?
I mean, with a guy like this, do you really need anyone else?
My cousin used to work here. Not in the truck stop, she worked more in the parking lot. You know what I mean?
What's up, dude?
Suck a dick. Hey, ma'am.
This ride is killer.
I'll be there in 2 shakes. By that I mean I ain't done peeing yet, and I'll be there after.
Although I do get kind of tired of him repeating how his life flashes before his eyes sometimes.
My life flashed.
Our local law enforcement agencies.
It was like one of them rapping music videos. Super boss, all kinds of asses bouncing. I've had a good laugh.
There's also co-op if that's more your jam, but in order to do that, I'd have to have friends, I guess. As you fill that progress meter to certain points, you get kidnapped by the region boss, giving you more story as you go along. It doesn't always feel like it makes sense at times or even comprehensive to what you may be doing at that time. It's definitely a weird video gamey thing that continues to take world building off of the rails, so if you're expecting something grounded in completely reality, this may not be your game. Although I think it's fair to say that this game isn't really going for realism.
They can like, surprise motherfucker, I'm awake.
If you're worried about content, don't be, because this thing is chock full of it. I honestly forgot how much there is going on in this game that you'll completely miss if you're just trying to mainline it. Freeing up prisoners will often lead you to a new outpost to take out or to a location hiding some buried treasure.
I ran into this guy out by the lookout tower who says,
I'm not even supposed to be here. I hope I don't jack off.
Which isn't completely necessary at all, but it'll definitely help you with money and upgrades earlier on if it's something you choose to do. If you get tired of fighting cultists, you can head to the woods and do some hunting for animals. You can also fish, which I personally never really did, but there's markers everywhere to indicate new things to hunt or catch, which is pretty neat. The The world is fun to explore with great looking valleys, forests, and trinkets for you to find if you choose to look for them. At one point I ran into a side mission with a Hollywood nutcase shooting a blood dragon movie. Yeah, that happened in this game.
Hey, you want to work in a movie? Of course you do. You are the solution. Shit, son! Who the fuck are you? This is a closed set.
An old gas station might be holding a new vehicle, or a trailer in the middle of nowhere might have a bunker with supplies. You really don't know what to expect, and I always found myself finding something new to toy around with as I played. If you really don't feel like exploring too deep, you can always just ride around and take out patrols. None of this would matter without good gameplay, which luckily this game has in spades. First off, the gunplay feels great. I personally used to consider Call of Duty the standard when it came to fun, snappy gameplay, and I think Far Cry's is very comparable to it. Every weapon feels unique, with the exception being melee weapons, and they're all fun to use. The same goes for all of your craftable explosives that can spread fire and damage across anything they come into contact with, which I thought was pretty cool. The sound design complements all of this great with very satisfying, crispy audio to keep the animations company. All the audio seemed to be mixed very well, and it kept the experience feeling immersive. But in case you get tired of playing in that world, you can choose many others in the Far Cry Arcade. Far Cry Arcade is basically an additional game baked into Far Cry 5.
This game's awesome. You can play with your friends.
You can instantly access this at any time from the arcade cabinet spread across Far Cry 5. Or you can just boot up into it from the main menu. This is where you can explore a wealth of both single player and multiplayer content, all created by the arcade community. Here you can find everything from original content to stuff like complete recreations of Call of Duty Zombies maps, all made from the ground up. There was even a recreation of Modern Warfare 2019's popular Clean House level in here. Bet you didn't expect to find that in Far Cry 5. This is done through surprisingly feature-rich mapping tools that are included within Far Cry 5. It's not very often that developers include tools of this caliber to the community to create their own content, much less on consoles as well. I had no idea what I was doing, but I booted this up to check it out, and you can clearly see that this looks almost like a legitimate tool set that the game developers would use. That being said, there were a few caveats to the arcade. The menus were a bit clunky to navigate. It was a bit awkward to find specific content or start levels at first. Also, I'm not sure if the levels themselves are crossplay when it comes to online multiplayer, but the lobby population I found in the server browser was very small. I couldn't find a game at all through basic matchmaking. The only way to access anything in the arcade seems to be through their online servers, and with such a small online presence, I worry about the longevity of it all, to be honest. That being said, it all is technically just a bonus, and it doesn't impact my thoughts of Far Cry 5 itself at all, but I did feel like mentioning the arcade was very important for this. AI is never perfect, especially in a game like this that introduces so many random variables, but with the occasional exception, I think Ubisoft did a pretty good job at implementing it.
Get your marshmallows, we got a fire!
Playing this after my last experience with Cyberpunk makes me realize just how much CDPR dropped the ball. If it had been even close to what Far Cry 5 had offered, it would have been a much better game in my opinion. We're not talking about Cyberpunk, you guys are here for Far Cry 5. If you want Cyberpunk, you can go watch my Cyberpunk videos, so there's a plug. First off, random encounters can play out at any time, leaving you and your companions to fight against cultists as well as any wildlife that might intervene. During firefights, enemies will search for you, which is where you can choose to go in with guerrilla tactics or just go in gun blazing. They'll react accordingly, flanking and calling reinforcements if they get the chance to set off alarms.
We fought back a little, but still we're fighting.
I don't think those were rumors.
Chase sequences and vehicles are also a bit randomized, giving the situation the opportunity to play out however it unfolds on the landscape. These are just some more of the elements that make Far Cry 5 a treat to jump in and play at your own pace. So I'm sitting here editing this video, and another little noteworthy mention that I want to put in this video is that the cars can actually pull a Tesla and self-drive themselves around the map, and you can also have your AI companion drive you to mission objectives as well. You know, I always wondered in video games, why do I always have to be the only one to drive? Why can't I let somebody else do it for me? Well, in Far Cry, you can do that, and then you realize how boring it is to let the AI do the driving for you. Of course, Far Cry 5, like any other game, has its flaws, but the only noteworthy one I can really think of is that it can get potentially repetitive after a while. So I spent about 9 hours in Far Cry 5 so far, and I think I'm about a third of the way through the main story, so at this point you either have to really enjoy the gameplay loop or the story to keep going from this point, in my opinion, but I think it's pretty good nonetheless.
And those that try to harm us will suffer.
Uh-oh, here comes the man with the yellow glasses. There's also DLC to consider, which adds new content that completely changes the game up, but like Dying Light's The Following, we're gonna have to wait and save that for another discussion.
Really fucked this up.
So drop a sub if you want to stick around for that, but with that being said, you can pick up Far Cry 5 right now for sub 20 bucks on any platform, and I think that's a great value of game for money. Considering that price, it makes it really hard for me to be too nitpicky about the flaws because it's a fun ass game. There's a reason they made like 5 million of these Far Cry 5 games, dude. They're fun as hell. So if this one doesn't scratch your itch, I'm sure there's plenty of others to check out that will. I'm not sure how you would have made it this far into the video if you weren't interested in it, but otherwise, go tear some shit up. The world is fun to explore with great-looking ballast. What the fuck is a ballast? So... Far Cry Arcade is basically an additional game mode baked into Far Cry 5. You can instantly access this at any time through the arcade cabinet spread across... Sprad? What the fuck is a Sprad? So I poked this... Look. So I poked this...
I've got the list of stuff I still need. If you could find them, we may actually have a chance.
Oh God! Pete! Ah!
Alright, y'all, take a seat and sit down, because y'all ain't about to believe this fucking story I'm about to tell you. Me and my buddy Sharky were getting completely blasted off this thing of moonshine we got right here, so we were walking down the road, not driving, being responsible, of course, and we come up on the cult members. But before we get to the cult members, Oz looks over to the left, and there's a cougar over there just running in circles. It was like we were in a simulation or something. So my buddy Sharky says, I'm gonna go in this ninja style. He walks around, hits the dude from the back, doesn't even see it coming, comes back around. Cougar's still just spinning in a circle, you won't believe it. So I went and I stood in the middle of the thing and it just kept spinning around. So I decided, hey, watch this, I'm gonna poke it. So I poked this. So I poked the cougar with my foot and then he bit me.